Well,
guess
Julie's not on, so I guess I'm leading the meeting. So, hi, I'm Allison Phipps. I'll turn my camera on so everyone can see. Um, so welcome to our February 3rd meeting. And the meeting for today is to discuss what our plans for our Arvadans for Progressive Action are for 2024. So thank you for joining, and we're excited to hear everybody's thoughts about what we could do as a group, or different parts of the group can do.
Can I interrupt for just a moment? This is
Sure.
Kathleen. I just wanted to tell you
Kathleen.
the electricity was out here for about 15 minutes, so I'm just now joining. And I don't know, that may have affected other people too.
Yes, Kathleen, we are
Yes.
all kind of in and out of power and Wi-Fi. So if you all of a sudden drop off, we won't be surprised. And I don't know, hopefully we can make it through this meeting. We'll see. So thank you for joining. Thanks for coming after your power came back on.
Yeah.
So sorry. Do we have anybody new to APA that would like to introduce themselves at this point? Just say hi to the group. Is there anyone here for the first time?
That would be me, Joe McLaughlin. I think I joined last week, and I live in Candelas.
Welcome, Joe.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Was that Jackie as well?
Yeah, I'm Jackie Rivera, and I have been to one meeting that we had that was like a gathering of a few people one time, but this is my first big meeting.
Great. Well, welcome. Anybody else?
I do see a mystery telephone number too, 720-327-4450. Who are you? They're muted.
I'll let them speak up here in a minute. But this is Mike Griffith. I think most all you know me. This isn't my first meeting that I attended, but this is the first meeting I've attended, not as a candidate. So just want to say hi to everybody.
Welcome. Thanks for
Welcome,
coming.
Mike.
Yeah. That might be just a call-in number. That random phone number. So we'll move on. They're not unmuting. Okay, great. Well, this group, APA, was founded during a dark time in our country, and we aren't quite out of it yet. So we have a tradition of sharing what gives us hope, or what keeps us up at night. So if anybody would like to share something, I'll begin with what gives me hope. I know that the snow is hard to drive in and stuff, but I love it so much. And so every time I see snow, it just reminds me how much I love this state and love living here. I just built a really cool snowman in the backyard with my kids. And so it always makes me really happy when it snows, even if we lose power and I can't leave my house and drive, but I do like it. And it doesn't have to be weather related. It could be anything in the country. So if anyone else would like to raise a hand and say something that gives them hope. Darlon?
Now, what gives me hope is my neighborhood. And I see one of my neighbors online, Anne. And she was one of the hosts for a tour that we had this afternoon with a journalist from Canaria Media. So Anne, thank you so much for showing what the Geos neighborhood is about, and encouraging other neighborhoods to do the same as we do at Geos. So that gives me hope. Thank you.
That's awesome. Anyone else? Or things that keep them up at night too. That could sometimes be more. Hey, Hallie?
I have many more things that keep me up at night than that give me hope at the moment. But I do want to say, in all seriousness, that the existence of this group gives me hope. I hope I didn't have when I came back to Arvada after having been away for
Are you froze up?
time.
Are you froze up? No. I'm froze up.
So I'm really grateful to all you guys who came together 8 years ago and started this. And that's my hope for right now.
That's awesome. Thank you. I agree. This group is awesome. And it gives me a lot of hope. If anybody else wants to share anything, we can move on. Harriet.
So the fact that I'm unmuted. Usually the first time I talk on any Zoom call, I forget to unmute, but I'm unmuted. So this is good. What gives me hope is I remembered to unmute, and that that we have new people on this meeting who care enough about the things that we care about, that they want to get involved in planning for the upcoming year. And that gives me a lot of hope, and I think that's great.
Yeah, that's great. And thank you for everybody that, like, through change of location and power outages and everything, for just showing up. It's an effort and we appreciate it. And I keep seeing people, I'm like admitting people as they like drop off and then come back in because of power losses. So there's Bruce again. All right. Last call. Anybody else have something to say? Want to share? Okay. We're gonna skip the collections basket today because we can't collect money on here. And so now we'll just jump into our action team leaders reports. I think most of us are here. I think Mindy had to drop off. So I am the communications team lead. I'll start. All the newsletters that go out, Facebook events that get created, I kind of work on those. And so if anybody knows anybody that has a tiny bit of like tech savvy, and would like to help with like Facebook event creations or organizing the newsletter, logging into MailChimp and kind of organizing the newsletter once a week, I would love some help. Robin's helping me some weeks. She's able to help with the newsletter, but I could really use another hand. So, and that's Taylor, and I'm really glad you're going to help. Okay. And then I'm also the education team lead, so I'll move into that group. We had a meeting, our first like group meeting last week, which was awesome. And we kind of brainstormed before this meeting to kind of plan on like what the education team could potentially work with the city to accomplish. So we have some ideas going in to this meeting, which will be exciting in our breakout groups. And there's no school board elections this year, so we won't be focusing on that. So it's pretty much just going to be figuring out how we can partner with the city to support education in Arvada. And that's it for me. If you're interested in being part of the education team, please send me an email, send me a chat in this group, or let me know. And I'd love to get you on our newsletter. So, and we'll go. Pat, did you have something?
Yeah, I am timekeeping. So you have a couple of minutes left, and I just wondered, I thought we were going to expand a little bit more because you each had 3 minutes. Like, can you give an idea of one thing that might be a goal, just so we have some idea of what goes on in education?
Yeah. Sorry, I wasn't maybe totally prepared, but yes, one of the things that we discussed in possible partnership with the city is there's a lot of Jeffco School closed 16 schools last year, elementary schools specifically, and there are a few that have closed down in Arvada. So we're looking at one of them. Campbell became an early learning center, which is great, but some of the East Arvada neighborhoods have kind of lost community because they don't have that community school anymore. So we're hoping that maybe we could, and I know that Shauna Ambrose on City Council has showed interest in this, in creating community centers. Maybe nonprofits could, like if a school was kind of restructured to each classroom could be rented out by a group like ours, like a nonprofit group or some sort of advocacy group or homeless support system. So if like a food bank or a navigating system, to just kind of utilize the school buildings the way they are, but create a place where, because they have gyms, they have cafeterias, they have Wi-Fi, they're set up. You know, if the bathrooms are retrofitted, they could have adult-sized toilets. So I think that they could be turned into areas where community could gather, people could rent out rooms. So that's something that we'd like to see if the city could work, because the city doesn't own the buildings, Jeffco does. So we would have to figure out if there's a way to license those or use some of those, maybe like one building, start with that, try to create a community center in Arvada. So that's an idea that we're contemplating asking the city for. So yeah, in the small groups, I would love to like hear what people think about that and ideas of like how that could logistically work. So yeah, that's education. Did I stay under time, Pat? All right, next is Kathy with healthcare.
Yeah, I was on the phone before, but then my power came back on. So if I wig out, then I'll get back on the phone. Okay. Yeah, I'm Kathy Blake, the APA Healthcare Action Team Leader. And our team advocates for a publicly financed, privately delivered universal healthcare system in Colorado and nationwide. Everybody needs healthcare, and we're fighting because we care about our families and friends. Right now, our big push is to convince legislators to support House Bill 24-1075, analysis of universal healthcare payment system. So what that would be an analysis asking and answering questions about whether a universal payment system is doable in Colorado, how to finance it, and what would be the economic impact. For more info, you could check out the APA January 6th meeting on the APA website under blog. This coming Wednesday, February 7th, is Healthcare Lobby Day. Several healthcare action team members are going carpool. We would love to have you join us. So I can put my contact information in the chat, and then if you're interested, it's going to be all day, 7:30. There's going to be speakers and a breakfast. And then we have meetings set up with Representative Dougherty and with Rachel Zenzinger. And then this is exciting. We are the first hearing on the bill at the Health and Human Services Committee is going to be at 1:30 on that exact same day, hopefully. So we will get a chance to show our support and our, wear your t-shirt. Signs are not allowed, but they're also going to have beanies there and so it's going to be a really exciting day. If you guys can join us, that would be great and wonderful. After House Bill 1075 is passed, we would like your input on where to go next. We meet on the third Saturday of each month on Zoom from 4 to 5:30. February 17th, State Senate candidate Obi Azadi will come to our meeting and explain in more detail his position on healthcare reform. Other ideas include expanding and improving Medicare for all, reducing the impact of Medicare, we call it disadvantage, because it's privately run and is there for profit. And public officials have to start treating healthcare as a public good, not a commodity. So thank you very much. Look forward to seeing you Wednesday. Thanks, Pat.
All right. I think I'm back. dropped off for a second.
Allison, you're breaking up.
So who's next? Who's next?
Maybe we could just go right to Bruce.
Bruce. Yeah, I don't know if I've got great service, but Bruce, you're next. If you can hear me.
Yeah.
Is Bruce on? If Bruce isn't there, then there you go.
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anti-war action team, we work to increase awareness of the profound negative impact of our war policy on our society and the world. It's a fundamental issue, and one of the things I always like to point out is that the total we spend on defense, militarism, and war costs about $4,000 per person. This is about $480 million for the people of Arvada. That's almost $500 million. The team's current focus is on Gaza. This is a difficult issue as defenders of Israel come from a place of deep trauma and will not be moved easily, and that is very difficult. However, Israel has killed 26,000 people missing. What? Oh, more people missing, thousands more, and collective punishment has created conditions where thousands more are likely to die from famine and disease, and our government is supporting this. To make these conditions even worse, our government has stopped funding for the major organization that relieves Palestinian suffering, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees. There was a pretest that 12 employees out of a total workforce of like 13,000 had participated in Hamas attacks. This is compared to 153 people working for UNRWA that have been killed by Israel. There is a growing movement. It's getting bigger and bigger. 68% of voters support a ceasefire. The International Court of Justice has ruled that Israel's government is it's plausible they are committing genocide. The American Federation of Teachers has joined other unions, called for a ceasefire. Chicago, San Francisco, Seattle, Detroit, Atlanta, and other cities have passed resolutions calling for a ceasefire. Lakewood City Council heard an hour and 40 minutes of riveting testimony on a ceasefire resolution. And the administration has pushed a little bit. CIA Director Burns is negotiating for a 3-month ceasefire, which would help, but we want a permanent ceasefire. So there is some movement, so don't give up. There is another factor in this, and that is that what's happening in Gaza is going to hurt Democrats. People who are outraged about this generally vote Democrat. The only anti-war peace candidate on the presidential primary is Marianne Williamson. So it's, are you, what? Time up. Okay. So I'll close and say just, the anti-war people need help. I'll put it in the chat. And my email is on the website too. Thanks.
Thank you, Bruce. All right, next is the environment team, which is, I'll let Taylor introduce Darlan.
Yes, so without further ado, Darlan is taking over the environment team. I thought that what I was going to try and do is spend more time on communications. What could go wrong? Darlan.
Thanks, Taylor. So I've got big shoes to fill, taking over Taylor's role. One of the proposals I have for the environment team is if we could change our name to the climate action team. And the reason I'm proposing this is because environment has gotten associated with being polite with conservative city councils and conservative school boards, and it doesn't speak to the need of phasing out fossil fuels. Because fossil fuels, our transition has been delayed so long that we don't have time to continue to try to be polite and try to acquiesce to all of the above energy solutions, which really means letting fossil fuel continue to be 80% of our energy mix. We have to rapidly transition away from fossil fuels. So I'm proposing a change to climate action for the team name. And I'm also proposing that we speak to this at the next city council meeting on Monday. So if people are interested in being part of the APA climate action public comment, please let me know. Also, if people object to changing the name, please let me know. If there's enough people who object, we won't announce our new name at the city council meeting on Monday, but we can still talk about the issues that are regarding phasing out fossil fuels. And when it comes to the city council, I think what that means is standing up to developers, because developers are really the enablers of more fossil fuel infrastructure. They continue to build more homes and more commercial buildings that are using gas appliances and have gas lines, while those gas lines are subsidized by Excel ratepayers. So we really need to speak to the city council standing up to developers and putting in building codes that phase out the use of gas for new buildings and commercial buildings. And we also need to speak to the need to retrofit. That might not be something we want to focus on for city council in particular for Monday, but it's something we need to speak to in future meetings. And I think this is tied as well to education, because there's a Jeffco Students and Parents for Climate Action. They're focused on students being able to take climate action, and so we should also consider this cross partnership. So that's my time. Thanks a lot for letting me take over for Taylor.
I do see some questions in the chat. Hallie asked whether or not Arvada has a city policy regarding the use of fossil fuels.
Not that I know of. I think it's just they allow gas to be put in. In fact, they make you have to justify not putting in gas if you're putting in a new development.
And Harriet had a question for Bruce. What was the Lakewood City Council asked to do regarding a ceasefire, and did the council take any action?
Yeah, they were asked to asked to vote on a resolution calling for a ceasefire, and I don't think they voted on it. I think they'll probably vote in the near future, but yeah, I haven't heard about the vote.
And Anne had a question. Do we make motions to take actions? I assume that's with respect to changing environment to climate action?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Darlan suggested that we change it. So I'm wondering if I can make a motion and then do we vote, or how does this work?
That's a good question. I know Darlan sent out the email to the group. You're like the environment team group, and so I know you're collecting responses, Darlan. So my assumption was that you were kind of going to gauge like what the majority of the environment team felt, and then maybe bring that to maybe once everybody's submitted their responses. Do you feel like you've gotten responses from most people that we could do a motion here, or are you not ready to like?
Well, normally what we do is we discuss it in the action team, and then the leadership team generally makes these type of decisions. Generally votes are for endorsements and things like that. But I mean, that's the general procedure.
Yeah, and I think I haven't taken over Taylor's email address yet, so Taylor is actually collecting the responses. So if Taylor hasn't forwarded me all the responses, please let me know.
Well, I think maybe we table the motion, like the official name change for the next meeting, but while you're collecting responses from the team, you can kind of make that recommendation and then we can vote on, whether that name changes. But maybe we'll wait until you get your full response from your team, your new environment team. So. All right. Moving on. I don't think Mindy's on the call. Affordable housing would be next if she's here. Nope, I don't see her. Okay. Then so political action would be Joyce next.
Hey. Hi, I'm Joyce Richardson, and I'm the chair of the political action team, kind of by default. To date, we've been active in disseminating information on local and state candidates, developing questions for candidates, and posting their answers on our website, asking our members to vote to endorse candidates and issues or not, and encouraging our members and subscribers to support our endorsed candidates and ballot measures. I'm happy to say that our successes are reflected on our statewide offices, like, our Secretary of State and, some of those. County leadership, we did great on the county, and our city council. So 35 years ago, when I moved here to Arvada, neither Colorado nor Arvada leadership looked or acted anything like it does today. And I am so happy about that. And while we've only been really active since 2016, I think we've had a really good impact on the city council and a pretty good impact on the state offices for Arvada. So I'm thinking that we are a voice, but I would like to say that at this point, I think we need new leadership on this committee. I've been around for a little too long, and I think fresh perspectives and new approaches are needed on this committee. I've been on the leadership since its inception and head of this committee since 2020, and I think that's not healthy for an organization. So I think it's time for me to say adios and find someone who has some new energy. And I would love to chat with people who might be interested in doing that. If you are interested, or if you know someone who is interested, I think we're looking for somebody a little younger than this face. And I just kind of like to be a mentor and, a willing participant knocking on doors and texting. So help an old lady out. My info is in the chat. I'm also going to try to paste into the chat kind of what we're looking at this year for the races, and it's going to be a busy one, and we're all going to have to roll up our sleeves and get busy if we want to keep Colorado blue. Thanks.
All right. And Pat, I saw your hand was raised. Was that a timekeeper thing? Yeah. So Mindy, I saw you just joined. If you wanted to do your affordable housing spiel.
Great, thank you. I finally got my Wi-Fi to reconnect after the power outage. Appreciate that. Mindy Moore, and I lead the affordable housing team. We do not meet regularly, but more is needed. There is some upcoming state housing legislation, and if our advocacy is needed, we certainly send out emails to people. But our main focus has been local for housing, affordable housing and homelessness with Arvada and Jefferson County. And just a heads up to folks at this Monday night, so 2 nights from now, there's 2 things going on with our city council. First, a number of folks or advocates are planning to make public comments during the 3-minute public comment period. These are people from the faith community and other organizations, as well as APA. to talk about homelessness and the need for a navigation center in Arvada. They recently opened one in Lakewood on Colfax with Recovery Works. Jefferson County has set aside $6 million of their American Rescue Plan funds for 2 navigation campuses, one in Lakewood, one in Arvada. But the one in Arvada just has not been happening other than the city helping community table move. But that will not be a shelter. It won't be a day shelter, much less a 24/7 year-round shelter. It won't have transitional housing. The one in Lakewood does have all of that. They're planning on being 24/7 shelter. They also bought a motel on West Colfax for transitional housing. So people are going to be speaking up about that at the public comments, and I have some talking points if anyone else is interested and hasn't seen those. And secondly, at the business meeting, they are having a workshop on affordable housing. They've posted the slides already on the city website. I can put a link in the chat if people want to see that. And it'll just be a discussion and a catch up of what's in the pipeline on affordable housing, definitions and things like that, that might be of interest to people just to watch. It should be a short business meeting. There's no public hearings Monday night, which is good. And finally, if you'd like to join our team or get the actual housing emails and you're not already on the list, please let me know. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mindy. And then I think Julie's on the call too. You're the last one. And then I do want to get to these breakout groups, but Julie, you got Wi-Fi? Are you here?
Yeah, my electricity came back on. Looks like it was out in the whole neighborhood. It has flickered a few times since it came back on. So if I disappear, my apologies. First of all, I would just like to say I see in the chat that there's a name change. If somebody could write in what that's about while I give a quick briefing. My name is Julie Callahan. I'm kind of the social chair, social connections. I don't consider myself really a team lead. It's just more of a person who's trying to connect with people on an individual basis so that we can change hearts and minds. We have a book club coming up on Wednesday night at the Arvada Library. The book that we are reading is called An Invisible Thread: The True Story, an 11-year-old panhandler, a busy sales executive, and an unlikely meeting with destiny. We're just having a book club once a month. It will be the first Wednesday of every month. The next meeting will probably be at the Stanley Lake Library if possible. I'm also, thanks to Joyce, our political action person, I'm going to be reaching out to the area high schools to try to get out the vote for young voters. I consider that sort of a political action thing, and I guess I'm interested in that. This is the first time I've heard Joyce say she's kind of stepping down, which I want to say I think she's amazing. I don't know that I don't think I can fill those shoes, but I would certainly like to help somebody do that. So anyway, I'm going to be reaching out to the local high schools to see if we can get out some informational cards on voting that we can pass on to young, very, very young adults and almost adults, so we can start getting people recognizing that voting isn't just one day, once every 4 years. So if anybody's interested in that, I will put my text number down in the corner. I don't know if anybody has kids or nieces, nephews, or neighbors who go to the local high schools. Is my time up? Anyway, if you're interested, I'll put my number down there and you can reach out to me. Thank you.
Julie, the education team would be interested in kind of partnering with that. So let's talk.
That sounds good. Thanks.
Great. All right. Well, I think we've come to the point of the meeting where we're ready to break out into groups. And I think there's probably enough for 3 breakout groups so that we can get everybody kind of in a smaller group and talking. The 3 questions that we want you to consider while you're in these groups is, do you have any ideas, projects, or legislation that you think our group should focus on at the local or state level or the national level. So, what are those projects? What are those ideas? Number two, what do we want to focus on locally with the new Arvada City Council? A couple years ago, our environment team worked hard to get single hauler trash service. So that was, just an example of like a way that our group made an impact on the city. So just think about like what we could do with the city council, the current city council. And third thing to consider is what are you personally willing to do to implement your ideas? So we are an action-oriented group. We have all these action teams. As you could see, most of the action team members are pleading for more help and more people on their teams. So, we have these great ideas, but we need people to also kind of follow through on those ideas. So anything that you are willing to throw out there, you have to be willing to also kind of go to a meeting or sign a petition or door knock, those sort of things. So no idea is a bad idea. This is really a brainstorming session. So, throw things out. I would want at least one person from each group to be kind of the designated note keeper. And then after we're done, we will come back together, kind of present things that were discussed in the three groups and kind of take notes. We can maybe have some motions where we say, yes, that's a great idea. I'd like to focus on that. Or there might be a specific action team where that falls specifically under, and that action team might take that idea under their wing. So around, I want to give us enough time to talk, like 15 minutes. So let's say like 5-10, we'll come back together as a whole group after breakout and kind of present some of the ideas that we've talked about. We're back. That didn't feel long enough.
Yeah.
Okay, Hal, when we get to our report, I'm going to let you finish what you were just talking about.
Okay.
Because I want to hear what you were just saying. And so our group reports, I want to let you finish your thought. Yeah. Pat, you're muted. I know I can see you trying to talk. Okay, so I don't know how many, was it 3 groups, Taylor, or?
Yeah, we had 3 groups.
3 groups. I hope everyone had a note taker. I took some notes for our group. We can go first about just kind of some of the things we talked about, and then we'll move on to the next group. So first, Hal was like in the middle of a sentence while we were leaving our group. So I just want to let you finish. You were talking about environmental impact, NIMBYism, affordable housing. Go.
Right. Thank you. I was just commenting that in my career, I've dealt a lot with the interaction of communities, tribal entities, government entities, local entities, ranchers, miners, petroleum, those interests. So I see that as in a microcosm in affordable housing, because we do have so much economic inequality and social inequality. And I think that is one of the underpinnings of the resistance to affordable housing. I think there's a lot. I am not backed up on by any plans. This is just seems to me one grumpy old man thinking. So it's I think that's one of the underpinnings of affordable housing, also for some being analogous to the wrong kind of people, the wrong kind of family groups, the just not like us, we don't want them, puts them over there in the other section of town. But the other part I was going to say, in terms of my interest and with the APA, is the 2 things I'm most interested in are climate, because I think that's one of our most important things, and the anti-war stuff, because as I see it, we, in order to get out of this runaway train that we're heading in towards what I see as increasing unpleasantness, we need to free up money for action with the environment. And of course, our war budget is so high that personally, I know this is not a favorite opinion, but personally, I think we could diminish our war budget substantially and have a lot of money available for the green transition. Likewise, I think if we don't address the needs of the transition to green energy, it's just going to be increasingly unpleasant. That's all I had to say.
Thank you. Well, you and Bruce should talk.
Yeah.
Get on that anti-war team.
We've been meaning to talk for, I think, 6 years. So
yeah. So
no time like the present.
You're on the anti-war list, right? You get stuff from me?
No, I don't.
Okay. Why don't you give me your
put your email in the chat.
Gmail.
Yeah.
Can do.
Okay.
Good. Kathleen, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to piggyback on what he just said, that, and I used to have this in my email signature, but without clean air and clean water, nothing else matters.
Right.
So we need to really focus on the environment. Thank you, Hal.
Thank you. All right, I'm gonna just read our list of what we kind of discussed in our group, and then we'll go to the next group and we'll kind of go through that as well. So in our group, some action items.
Are we recording?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right.
Okay. In our group, our action items for get out the vote with local high schools and local colleges, trying to work with those community groups. Question mark, could the city help or be supportive of that? Maybe have a get out the vote event from the city. And then we talked a lot about potentially using the closed schools, the Jeffco closed elementary schools that are in the neighborhoods in Arvada, probably maybe focusing on one and trying to opening it as a community center. And we talked about what potentials could be in those community centers. Aurora has a migrant farmers market where they let like Venezuelan migrants come and like sell some wares, some food, that sort of thing, to like let them produce income as an idea. A health center or a lactation center, early motherhood, where you could get some support, maybe potentially like a primary care physician, a vaccine clinic, like something that community members could come to for health support. Boys and girls clubs, during the summer school or during the school year, schools provide a lot of food for children that aren't getting fed regularly at home. And during the summer, those children don't have access to food. There's always access at schools, but now that neighborhood schools are leaving, children need a place in the summer to go and get food. So having like a boys and girls club or a safe place for students, young kids to go and hang out. Maybe there's activities, that sort of thing. And then we talked a lot about affordable housing and how we can how this city council is the most receptive to affordable housing that we've had. We need to like really, really hone in on that. Mike Griffin had some great ideas about providing like some advocacy tools and putting together a document to help understand like the different levels of affordable housing and like where they could go. And to Hal sort of brought it up, like understanding NIMBYism, where yes, there should be affordable housing in Arvada, but not in my neighborhood. But how we kind of break through the community that way. And that is kind of what we discussed. So those are our main topics. If somebody would like to go from the next group.
I can go. Our group was room 12, and I jotted some items down. So we started with what was currently happening, real. So I mentioned ballot initiative 91 to ban fur trapping of bobcats and trophy hunting of mountain lions. That's currently collecting signatures. And I shared the link of the Cats Aren't Trophies. I'm the local collector and contact. I will be working at basically Old Town Arvada and any of these kinds of events that are in person to collect signatures. Then there's Initiative 89, Reproductive Rights. That was also mentioned as an initiative that is happening now, collecting signatures. I think they have a quicker turnaround. I think their time is coming up in April to be done with their signature collection to get their 125,000 minimum, and they usually shoot for about 170 to deal with the 30% error rate. Healthcare Bill 1075 was mentioned. That is real. And then another one that was mentioned is proposed legislation. It's not numbered or titled. It's out of 350 Colorado org, which is the Colorado branch of the Climate Action Group, Bill McKibben. And it is to work on a bill phasing out fracking by 2030. And then if this doesn't happen by like March, then the ballot initiative will be ready to go for the 2024 election. So that sounds like that's also a quick turnaround. Other topics that were mentioned at the national level was the Saving Democracy and Inequality Media with Robert Reich was brought up as an existing organization that could be supported, that has the framework to deal with that. And then, of course, housing, education funding, and then city level issues were the unhoused needs for a navigation center. And it was mentioned that Jeffco has money available for this year, and I guess needs the city to put forth something real to be able to get the money. And then affordable housing was also mentioned. And then I'll just add, is there anybody I could send this summary to for like APA notes from today's meeting?
That would be me. I'll put my email in the chat. I'll collect it all, and then we'll figure out if we're gonna like post. Maybe it'll be a blog post with this video. So yeah, I'll put my email in the chat, and please send it to me.
Okay, room 11, I think. We're the last ones. I think we had some pretty interesting ideas, and that will be really helpful. I mean, we talked first of all about APA does need to look for a different venue if we can, that is non-denominational, I guess, or just out of the church possibly, and maybe we could use the community center, the new one in Arvada, the Old Town, or we should bump that up to begin looking again. The other really interesting idea that everybody was thrilled about, because several of our concerns all fed into that, was to have maybe a new action team that is city council and commission monitors, that they would go to the meetings all the time, kind of do something in the weekly calls to action. This is what's happening. Everybody's worried about the environment. What's the city doing about climate change? What are we doing about the homeless? What are we doing about the trash all over Clear Creek? All of those kinds of things kind of would feed into possibly a monitor, so that they would know what's coming up and when we could go and tap dance on the city council's head about trash or whatever. And I think that's a really good idea. It's going to need manpower. So, there's always that. But I thought that was a really good local thing that could be pretty impactful and pretty helpful. We had some questions about, should we collaborate more with unions, and kind of find out if maybe our city employees. I don't know if they have a union, but you know, whether we could work with unions on some of our issues. I think we also said we really need to push our new, more progressive city council to place some of us on some of those tougher commissions like Aura and the Planning Commission, because that's where some of this development that a lot of people are pretty upset about that just happens. And we never know about it until it's too late to make comments that mean anything. And I think that's great. And I think, you know, I've tried to be on several commissions and I'm just too, they don't like me.
It's a badge of honor, Joyce.
Maybe, but you know, maybe we can sneak in a few people that maybe they're not quite aware of. But I think our new city council might be a little more amenable to placing some of our activism on those important meetings. So,
Well,
did I miss anything?
I'd just like to say, Joyce, I mean, I certainly hope that we get more members out in these committees, but I hope you at least have some comfort. I mean, I chair the Planning Commission and I'm a member of your group. So you're already making progress.
Yay!
I'm going to say full disclosure, I was an Aura commissioner for 10 years from 2009 to 2019. So I've been off for 5 years. And I encourage people to apply. And I certainly was a different voice than what was characteristically on there. But I was also a proponent for building heights and density, because I can tell you, I would just give one plug. The thing that I know that doesn't make things cheaper is less. So less housing will not make it cheaper. And I will say that a benchmark, I worked in Denver at the time. And so I would drive from Arvada to Denver and I would count cranes. For a bunch of years after the recession, I counted cranes, 25, 30 cranes all through Denver, and see these large projects. And I will tell you that the large projects that were really notable to me along the South Platte Valley, I was really concerned because they were investor rentals. They were investor high end. These are not people that were living there. Right. And what I took back when I was on urban renewal was housing that people actually lived in. I was very concerned about the trend that I was seeing nationally, especially in larger, very expensive cities, of building, you know, fourth and fifth luxury apartments, buildings for wealthy people, and the streetscape below it was dead. And I made it very clear that that could not happen in Arvada. We needed to build housing for people to live in. And I was a density advocate. I still am.
I was just going to, this is Kathleen. One thing that wasn't mentioned that was mentioned in our meeting was urban sprawl. Arvada just keeps, acquiring land and then building, and the water has to go out there and the utilities have to go out there and then people have to commute from there, and it's really bad for the environment.
Yeah, it sure is.
So I put my hand up and then I was on mute. So nobody heard me, that I was trying to get in after the last report, because I wanted to really point out that the issue that was brought up about the national elections, I think, is an overriding issue that we do not have a mechanism in APA to deal with. We pretty much focus on local and state issues. And that is my overriding issue right now. It's what keeps me up at night. I think it's what keeps most of us up at night. And yet we really aren't doing anything about it. And I think it's because we live in Colorado and we don't worry about where the Colorado electoral votes are going to go. But there are things we can do. And I'd like either to have one of the things that political action does be to look at what can we do to support those swing states, or do we need a new committee, maybe a short-term committee just through now on the election, to look at that because otherwise, I'll tell you, my energy is not going to go to APA. It's going to go to this November. So, and I think there's probably a bunch of us that are like that. So
my suggestion, just a quick suggestion, is to support, groups like.
Oh, you're breaking up.
Can't hear you, Bruce.
Working Families Party. Working Families Party. They get people out to not just support Democrats, but progressive Democrats that will change the narrative. So they're a great group. Somebody in our breakout group mentioned Robert Reich's group, Inequality Media and stuff. Maybe that's the way to go, support those types of groups. Just
I think there's a lot of, Harriet, to your point, there's a lot of existing groups that are focused on the national elections and like swing states, that sort of thing. So I think maybe our best bet is to not try to reinvent the wheel with APA, but find a group like Vote Forward where we can download letters and send them to Virginia or Georgia. Like they already have like a network and like addresses and all of that where we could just be like, okay, political action is going to encourage all members to download Vote Forward member letters and send those out. So it's not necessarily like APA's brand new initiative. It's like these are the groups that are doing things to, because I agree. That's
absolutely what I was thinking.
And I
a clearinghouse.
I would like to follow through on what Harriet, Bruce, and Allison said. Please, when you hear of these opportunities with other groups, let us know and we can include it in the call to action that goes out in the emails, posted on our Facebook groups. There's a lot of ways to get the word out.
And the Facebook, post it yourself. You don't have to go through somebody in admin. The more people who are talking to each other and sharing what they know, what's going on, the better.
And I do just want to say as a caution, we're not all the same level of progressive. So rather than us work only with one group, I would say, everyone feel what you're comfortable with, but just if you could provide those opportunities to us, Harriet and Bruce and anyone else, let's get them in the calls to action. And I think that's very true. Going back to the comment about getting people on city committees, we do have several APA members, and I know Darlan, for example, and Harriet are on the Sustainability Advisory Committee. And that's, I know it's been challenging, but that's one of the best ways to really influence city behavior regarding climate change. And then there have been successes. I'm on the Housing Advisory Committee, and it's an uphill battle, but trying to promote more affordable housing and keeping in the know on what the city's doing on housing and letting people know. So at least in those two committees, we do have APA representatives for the local issues that we can do something about.
All right. Well, it is 5:30, and I don't want to cut anybody off. I personally am like losing my voice. I have a bit of a cold. So I think for those of you, I think we can leave the Zoom open. And for those of you that want to stay on and continue chatting, I would say go for it. Just like at the ends of our meetings where people linger and have conversations, I want to allow people to kind of linger here. So I'm I'm moderating this. So I might just like leave my thing up and let people continue for another half hour if you want. For the people that did take notes, Joyce and Jackie, I think it was, or she had to leave already. Please send me your notes, like type them up, put them in a Word document, email them to me. I put my email in the chat. And then I'll try to compile it all and do a blog post with this video as well. So yeah, I don't want to cut off the conversation. Please continue to talk.
I just had a quick conversation. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh.
I want to mention Alice and I put the notes in the body of the email and emailed it off to you for our group, room 12.
Amazing.
And I'll stay on. I'd like to chat with folks about housing in general.
Perfect.
I just had a quick question. I wondered if how many folks from this group actually applied to some of these committees? I mean, that all the open seats that were available, I think that was due in January, mid-January, something like that.
I thought about it and I realized that my time is enough limited right now that I couldn't legitimately do it, but I seriously considered it.
I have previously applied and been rejected. I'm going to stop the recording now so that what will get posted, if you want to continue on talking, then we'll do so in an offline manner. I want to thank everybody for all of your patience, all the difficulties that we've had during this snowstorm and losing power and everything else. I'm very impressed considering all the things that could have gone wrong, how many didn't. So
thank you, Taylor, for doing this.
And maybe we can have pizza at a subsequent meeting.
Yes.
I
We
do
have to
think
cancel
it's
our Costco
important.
pizza delivery.
Let's do it outside when the weather is nice.
And we just have all these great ideas. There needs to be okay, now what?
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. I'm going to type it all up and then we'll talk with leadership about how do we move forward from here. We've got these great ideas. I do some action teams just kind of like adopt these and bring them under their wing. Do we have a vote on stuff? So we'll get back to you about how what we're going to do with these ideas. But by next meeting, we'll have something to talk about at the beginning of the meeting.
We have some serious recruiting to do.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alice.